So a filter in a bottle. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Larissa. Welcome to my channel. I've been a makeup artist for 10 years. Today we're going to do a first impressions on the new Huda Beauty Easy Blur Primer and the Easy Blur Foundation. So if you're ready to see what I think about either of these two products, go ahead and please keep on watching. So one side of my face for the demonstration, I'm going to use the new silicone-free Easy Blur Primer with the foundation, and then I'm just going to do the foundation on this side on its own with no primer. I want to see if there is a difference. So this is a silicone-free smoothing primer. You don't really need a primer in my opinion. It just like depends on what it is that you're going for, but let's just put this guy to the test. It does look like it has a silicone texture, which to me, it's weird that it's silicone-free, but let's go ahead and apply that to this side of my face. And I'm just going to use my fingers to blur it out. I'm going to give that about 30 seconds just to settle in because I want to see what it looks like. Sometimes primers need that 1 or 2 minutes just to kind of settle in and become like sticky or whatever. This one doesn't have any sticky or tacky feeling, which is what I really like. And it feels like refreshing, like almost like I put a moisturizer on the side of my face. Okay, so now that's had a minute or two to kind of set. It's not tacky or sticky at all like the e.l.f. primer that I always use. But we're going to go ahead and try the foundation. Now this foundation, again, it says it has 1.5% of niacinamide, and I'm in the shade Custard, which is 220N, which is a neutral undertone. And I'm just going to apply this to the one side of my face. They said you just need to shake this really well. I'm going to shake it well, and it's already come out. Don't shake it without the lid on. So that's the texture of it. It's very like liquidy. I'm just going to use my fingers to blend it out on this side of my face, and we're also going to see the shade match. And usually I feel like applying a new product with my fingers is always best to start with, because that way the texture from the warmth from your hands really allows you to build up the coverage, blend it in really well, and not worry about a brush or a sponge absorbing any extra product. I'm going to bring this right up on my under eye area and apply this to the side of my face. And I've applied 2 light layers to the side of my face because I want to see what the coverage is for buildability, because I just got some on my brow. So it's been about 2 minutes. I just let this side settle into my skin, see if the foundation would oxidize. It did oxidize just a little bit, but actually more to my skin tone, if that makes any sense. Now, when I was really rubbing it in, I was doing that because sometimes when you apply a primer and a foundation and you're using your hands or a brush, and that action will make it pill and like mix together, but that didn't happen, which I was really impressed with. And coverage wise, it's beautiful. It looks like skin. It's glowing. I have a minimization like a little bit in pores, but I can still see them. Now, once I apply powder, I'm pretty sure that that'll go away. But it's completely blended into like my skin on this side. So I love the coverage. I love the natural finish, how it's still glowy. Hasn't settled in any fine lines or wrinkles or creases. And I haven't even set it yet. So let's go ahead and apply the foundation to this side of my face without the primer. Now again, I'm just going to use my fingers for this. I'm using too much. You really don't need that much product. It is very runny. That's probably one thing I don't like. I wish the foundation had a pump, but I think they said that they were going to change the packaging, or I don't know. This is just not my favorite packaging. Like I can't even get the lid on. Well, that's not the right lid. That's why. This is the foundation lid. I was trying to put the primer lid on it. But it's very runny, so just keep that in mind. Now, let's go ahead. There's no foundation or primer on this side of my face. And I'm just going to blend it in and see if that makes a difference. And again, for the sake of the video, I'm going to bring the foundation up into my eye and right up into my eye line. Usually I don't do that. So it's been about another 2 minutes, and I've let the foundation set on this side with no primer. And to be honest, there are not a lot of differences with the primer and with no primer. If I'm going to get really, really picky, I really don't see that much of a difference. This side is a little bit more glowy and a slightly, and I mean slightly, just a teeny tiny bit more blurred than this side without the primer. But they pretty much look identical from this distance. But if I'm like up close in my mirror, even where I've overlapped the foundation in certain areas, there's no streaks, coverage is there. It hasn't settled or creased in any falling lines. Again, the coverage and the shade match is pretty nice. It hasn't settled in any of my wrinkling. How many people do that, by the way? Am I the only one that knows? Has it settled in my creases yet? And I like look. I really don't have resting wrinkles yet. Okay, so for concealer today, I'm going to go in with this one from MAC, which I've been loving. This is the 24-Hour Smooth Wear Concealer by Studio Fix. Now remember, I do have the foundation right in areas that you're really not supposed to place it, but I want to see how it layers, especially with that primer. Normally, the less product you have in this area, the less it's likely to crease, just because it is so delicate. Oh, those two products together blend like a dream. Like, there's no creasing, there's no caking. So I love that you can wear and lay your products over this, especially if you are in a rush and you just get like a whole bunch of product in areas that you wouldn't necessarily put it. But that's really beautiful how those two like just blend and layer together. To set the face today, I'm going to go in with the Charlotte Tilbury Press Powder in the shade 2 and use a little powder puff. Again, I always apply it on the back of my hand, start from the furthest point and literally stipple that in. Same thing, you always want to make sure you want to tap out any creasing once your concealer has settled, and do the same thing on the other side. And then I always tap some over my eyes as well, just to smooth out any product that is settled there and set a nice base for eyeshadow. Okay, now that the base is set, let's go in and see there's no creasing, there's no pilling. Super impressed with this foundation and the primer. Even on the side that doesn't have the primer, on this side, there's a little bit more creasing. So just keep that in mind. This might actually help with creasing, because on the side that we've applied the primer, there's barely any. Makeup's done. Let's get into my final thoughts. I don't really think the primer makes a big difference. I'm going to play around with this a little bit more with different foundations, but I really don't see a difference. Now, it could just be the way that this formula is formulated. It's very, very minute, and I'm not sure if these two were like the best combo together. So right now I'm going to say skip this. I'll do a little bit of a longer video with a different foundation and see if it makes a difference. But I think if you're using a easy blur foundation as well, it kind of just mitigates the purpose of having a blurring primer, especially if this does so amazing. All right, now let's talk about the Easy Blur foundation. In this you are getting 30 milliliters or 1 fluid ounces, which is pretty standard. This contains 1.5% niacinamide, which helps with pores, redness, and overall skin clarity and texture. And you do have to shake well before you apply this. I'm not a fan of the packaging, but that's just personal preference. I would prefer a pump. I think they might redo the packaging if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not 100% on that. This foundation is a little bit more liquidy, so just don't apply it to the back of your hand and put your hand up because it will run. Let's talk about the actual application. So on this side, we had the primer and the foundation together. These two work beautifully. It didn't pill, it didn't have any streaks. It covers, the coverage is buildable. It does oxidize just a teeny tiny bit, so you don't have to worry about a huge difference in color once it settles down. You can layer it beautifully. It covered all of my veins, all of my acne scars, and it hasn't emphasized any of my pores, and it does look like skin. The finish of this is not matte, but almost like a satin finish where it's just a little bit glowy, but it still looks like your own skin tone. Do I think this is a filter in a bottle? No. I think when we're looking for like airbrush and like poreless, I don't think that's kind of reasonable to want out of a product, to be honest. Again, if you have very like textured skin, if you have a lot of acne, if you have a lot of damage, or if you have a lot of wrinkling, there's no way that it's gonna like completely make it look like you don't have any. I mean, it's makeup, it's for $50. We're not gonna go back in time 20 years. But overall, for what it is, the formula, the coverage, the finish, I do like this. But again, I'm going to play with this for a little bit and see if it's something that I will be reaching for over and over again. Right now, as a first impressions, it definitely is a yes, go and try this. But don't expect it to be like an AI filter. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have any comments, requests, concerns, go ahead and drop them down in the comments below. And I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye, guys.